Welcome back, Defenders. With the world distracted by what's going on in the Middle East, Russia is using this as an opportunity to commit additional acts of terrorism. These headlines are going to be difficult to go through, but we have to, so that the people of Ukraine don't feel forgotten. Russian Barrage kills 10 in Kyiv, including an 11-year-old girl. 2 nights ago, Russia launched 368 drones and missiles. Ukraine's air defenses did the best they could, but Russia continues to hit their intended targets. Schools, hospitals, apartment buildings. This is a residential building in Kyiv, and this was the intended target. For a report on the ground, this is Ukrainian journalist Maria Avdiva. This is her reports from Kyiv.
7 people were killed in this residential building this morning when Russia hit Kyiv with dozens of drones and missiles. This is the daily reality Russia brings to Ukraine. Every night they launch hundreds of deadly Shahid drones, missiles, just to kill as many as they possibly can. This is the purely residential area with houses and kindergarten nearby. How would you call it if it's not a genocide? Genocide of Ukrainians that Russia continues day by day. When will Russia be stopped?
Let me share with you the names and faces of 2 of the victims. This was Vladimir and Anna, just sleeping peacefully in their bed when the Russians decided to kill them. The Russians killed their cat as well. 2 killed, 12 injured in a Russian missile strike in Odessa. This is a high school. This was a high school graduation, and then the very next day, Russia blew it up with a ballistic missile. Thankfully, none of the students were there, but 2 of the faculty were. Teachers being killed because schools are being targeted by Russian missiles and drones every single day. Russian missile terror reaches Ukrainian civilians on a train. The attack on Dnipro leaves people dead and injured. There's a video. I'll link it down below. And this is difficult, guys. This is difficult as a human being to listen to children screaming because glass on a train was blown out and just cut everyone up. Dozens of children crying and screaming in the background as a result of this terrorist attack on a train. For this photograph, I'll probably have to make it black and white just so I can show you. But this was a sleeper car, women and children. There's blood everywhere. A children's coloring book abandoned amidst today's Russian missile strikes on Ukraine's Dnipro region. With rescue efforts ongoing, already 9 people are dead, 90 injured. A train ride in summer should be part of a childhood joy, not interrupted by explosions, smoke, and blood. As the world hesitates, Russia escalates, our children are paying the price. Vengeance is coming for Russia at some point in the future. Ukraine Army Chief vows to expand strikes on Russia. So if you've made it this far in the video, if you haven't clicked out, what are we going to do about this? Ukraine submits multi-billion-dollar weapons purchase list to the United States as Trump halts new aid for months. If the United States wants to sell weapons to Ukraine or sell weapons to Europe, fantastic. But to all of my subscribers, you cannot rely on the United States for the next 3.5 years. For the next 3.5 years, the United States is lost. We are in chaos. We are just going to go from one crisis to another, and Donald Trump is not going to resolve or fix any of them. Everything here in America is just going to get worse over the coming years. So Europe, it's up to you to win this war, to help Ukraine. NATO to commit $40 billion in arms for Ukraine as leaders meet. There's a NATO summit happening right now, and NATO members are announcing military assistance to Ukraine. Norway to invest $400 million in Ukraine's drone and air defense missile production. Thank you so much to the Norwegians. The Netherlands to produce 600,000 drones for Ukraine under a €500 million deal. Thank you so much to the fantastic Dutch. This is what needs to happen. Missiles and drones domestically produced in Europe, or better in Ukraine, to fight the Russians. Peace through strength isn't merely a slogan. It's the only language Russia understands. The Kremlin does not respond to diplomacy. It exploits it, weaponizes it, uses it not only to deflect attention from their ongoing crimes, but using the pause to move forward. It does not honor compromise, viewing goodwill as weakness. Real peace, the kind that lasts, must be enforced, with strength and with resolve. There's no deal. There's no peace talks. There's no negotiations that the Russians will engage in with the hope of ending this war. Russia doesn't care how many of their soldiers die. They want this land. It is just a territory and land grab. It's about empire. And the only way to make it stop is with real strength. German aid helps Ukraine develop hypersonic missiles able to destroy bunkers deep inside Russia. This was part of Germany's €5 billion aid package to directly fund Ukrainian ballistic missile development. But this is going to take some time. I guarantee you the money is there. Work crews are going around the clock to get these missiles produced, but they're coming. Ukraine has to survive. They have to hold on potentially until 2026. But this is coming. Ukraine's own domestically produced ballistic missiles striking deep into Russia. And once this begins, Russia's going to feel the pain. Let's now get Russia's reaction to the United States destroying all of Iran's nuclear facilities. After 40 months of waging full-scale war on Ukraine, Putin condemns the unprovoked aggression against Iran. Iran's foreign minister flew to Moscow in order to try and get help from the Russians. Putin and his delegation met with him, and this is what Putin had to say. Absolutely unprovoked aggression against Iran has no basis and no justification. I'm glad you are in Moscow today. This gives us an opportunity to discuss all these pressing issues and to think together about how we might find a way out of the current situation. This is Iran's foreign minister, not looking very impressed by what Russia is offering to do to help. Putin slams unprovoked strikes on Iran, but stops short of offering any military aid or support. These are the Iranians calling their Russian allies, "We need air support." And the Russians are saying, "You're doing great on your own. Maybe China can help you." So yes, Russia does not have much spare military capacity to help Iran right now. But I do believe this was the plan of Donald Trump and Israel the last 6 months. Do not help Ukraine, so that when Israel and the United States moves on Iran, Russia will not intervene. Trump is using Ukraine as leverage against the Russians to not militarily help Iran. If Russia decides to try and help Iran or save the Iranian regime, Donald Trump can then punish Russia by allowing military aid to Ukraine. So Ukraine is just a bargaining chip. It's a leverage point for Trump and Israel. This is shattering to finally realize, but I don't see it any other way. How can you look at the participation of all these state actors and not come to that same conclusion? This is immoral. This is reprehensible. I hate Donald Trump even more now. But this is my final conclusion, especially after watching the events of the last week. So the United States military killed people. These Tomahawk cruise missiles being launched from submarines, these B-2 bombers burying people alive. I have no sympathy for the government of Iran, but I don't think this administration understands the repercussions of their decisions. They're treating it like a video game. What is Iran's official response this week? Iran attacks U.S. airbase in Qatar, what we know so far. There's videos online Iran fired 10 ballistic missiles at a U.S. base in Qatar and 1 missile at a U.S. base in Iraq. But that's not going to kill anyone. That's not going to do anything. No damage reported, because Iran coordinated this with the government of Qatar. Iran coordinated the attacks on the American airbase in Qatar with Qatari officials and gave advance notice that the attacks were coming to minimize casualties, according to 3 Iranian officials familiar with the plans. The officials said Iran symbolically needed to strike back at the U.S., but at the same time carry it out in a way that allowed all sides an exit ramp. They described it as a similar strategy to 2020, when Iran gave Iraq heads up before firing ballistic missiles at an American base in Iraq following the assassination of, I think, General Soleimani. There are civilian airliners in the skies, and Qatar actually does have good relations with Iran, so Iran wanted to give a heads up so that civilian airliners could divert and go to a different airport, but Iran can't fight back. If Iran actually did kill American soldiers, they know that the United States military under Trump would just continue bombing them. Also, Iran is not going to shut down the Straits of Hormuz. They've been threatening to do this for decades, but this would mostly hurt the other Gulf states, as well as India and China. So the one good news of the last 2 days is that the price of oil is cratering. It was almost back to $80 a barrel, and it's now dropped back down to 67 because Iran is not really responding. They can't. Iran at the moment is just trying to keep their government from collapsing. So they are more concerned with internal divisions than getting their vengeance. But obviously, as long as the Ayatollah and his successor remains in power, yeah, it's death to America and death to Israel forever. They're never going to stop. But Trump wants to celebrate, declare victory, and basically say it's over. The last 2 days, he's just put out like dozens of insane tweets. I'm not going to talk about them all. I'm not going to mention the delusions of my president, but I'll mention a couple. So the administration is saying the United States is not seeking regime change. J.D. Vance said, "Our view has been very clear that we don't want a regime change." Pete Hegseth said, "This mission was not and has not been about regime change." Marco Rubio claimed, "Regime change is certainly not the goal of what we're working on." And because everyone is saying, we're not doing this, Trump says, well, maybe we should do this. It's not politically correct to use the term regime change, but if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, why wouldn't there be regime change? MAGA. With Tehran under attack, Trump congratulates himself on negotiating a ceasefire. Trump, in all caps, just says, "The ceasefire is now in effect. Please do not violate it. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States," in the event you don't know who this guy is. He is so stupid, and he is so delusional, he just announces there's a ceasefire between Israel, Iran, and the United States because he thinks he is done bombing everyone he wants to bomb. But this is not true. Trump just makes this stuff up. This is the foreign minister of Iran saying as of now there is no agreement on any ceasefire or cessation of military operations. Iran hasn't agreed to any kind of a ceasefire, and neither is Israel. Israeli officials declined to comment publicly on whether they have accepted a ceasefire proposal with Iran mediated by Qatar, because Israel is still going after ballistic missile targets. Israel reportedly strikes Iran despite Trump's call for calm after announcing a ceasefire. If Israel sees one of these are transport erector launchers, TELs, they're going to blow it up because this missile only has one intended target, to strike Israel. So Trump declared there would be a ceasefire and nobody is done. Iran is still firing ballistic missiles at Israel. So Trump this morning on live television dropped the F-bomb.
You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
I guess the President of the United States now just uses the F-bomb on live television to the American public. What have the Americans accomplished? Medvedev says Iran will get nukes. So this is Russia's unofficial reaction. Putin himself restrains because he is the sovereign of Russia. But Medvedev is his wild dog, the attack dog, the guy who throws out red meat to Russia's nationalist base. So Medvedev felt like he needed to interject himself, and this is what he's saying about the United States' attack on Iranian nuclear facilities. What have the Americans accomplished with their nighttime strikes on 3 nuclear sites in Iran? Critical infrastructure of the nuclear fuel cycle appears to have been unaffected or sustained only minor damage. The enrichment of nuclear material, and now we can say it outright, the future production of nuclear weapons will continue. A number of countries are ready to directly supply Iran with their own nuclear warheads. This is the former president of Russia. I think he's the chairman of Putin's Security Council, saying Russia should give Iran nukes. Iran must have nuclear weapons, and Russia is going to help them. So somebody told Trump this happened. Trump slams Medvedev's N-word threat over Iran. Did I hear former President Medvedev from Russia casually throwing around the N-word nuclear and saying that he and other countries would supply nuclear warheads to Iran? Did he really say that, or is it just a figment of my imagination? If he did say that, and if confirmed, please let me know immediately. The N-word should not be treated so casually. I guess that's why Putin's the boss. Putin's the boss of Trump. I think this is good to see Russian politicians and Donald Trump arguing with each other, because the United States is pulling back from Russia. U.S. pulled out of embassy talks over venue disputes. This is according to a Putin advisor. And for the last 5 months, we've been hearing all of this insane stuff. Like there was going to be a hockey match between the United States and Russia. There was going to be some kind of aluminum deal with Russia. The United States was going to resume direct flights from Washington, D.C. to Moscow. They were going to reopen consulates and embassies and normalize staffs. All of this was announced, but it's not really happened yet. And now the Russians are saying the Trump administration isn't cooperating. They're not really... It could just be because they're incompetent and they're busy. Or the United States has been stringing the Russians along until this strike on Iran happened. I don't know. Either way, it's a good thing. Because Trump at the moment is purging from his inner circle all of the pro-Russian people. Trump has already attacked Tucker Carlson because Tucker Carlson supports Iran. Elon Musk was purged last month, and Elon supports in general Russia, China, and their economic military alliance. And there's lots of reports now that Trump hates Tulsi Gabbard. The reports are he just thinks she's boring and she doesn't really contribute anything to the team or to conversations. So the joke being is, I do think Tulsi Gabbard is going to be fired soon, but Trump might wait another month or two. But this is the updated photo. This was only like 3 months ago. You had Tucker Carlson and Elon Musk giving the thumbs up. Team Russia, Team China. But Israel is more important to Trump and his other inner circle advisors. They're willing to eject Elon. They're willing to eject Tucker Carlson in favor of supporting Israel over Iran. This is what Scott Ritter has to say, and I've not mentioned Scott Ritter in a long time. If you don't know who he is, he's a Russian propagandist, but he's an American citizen. And he's saying, MAGA is officially dead as a movement. Scott Ritter was a Trump supporter because he favors Russia. When a president wears a MAGA hat while conspiring to take America to war, after promising that, as the leader of MAGA, he would pursue peace, MAGA stands for nothing. If you're MAGA, then you must disassociate yourself from this president and everyone who stands with him. They are not MAGA. They are Israel first. Well, this is a good development. I support more of this. All of these people hate each other in MAGA. And yeah, they united to defeat Kamala Harris in the November election. But they're all turning on each other, and it's just going to get uglier and uglier every single day. I think this is good because, once again, the pro-Russian people in Trump's inner circle are being purged right now. We need more of that. All right, let's get back to Ukraine and the bad news for Russia. Fire engulfs Russian fuel depot again after new drone strike. Ukraine the last 3 months has been holding back on oil depots and refineries to not upset Trump during the peace talks, but I think the peace talks are done. Trump himself has given up. So Ukraine this summer, I think, is going to go back to striking oil refineries and depots. And the strikes from the first couple months this year had a huge impact. Ukraine's deep strikes cost Russia over $10 billion this year, according to General Sirski. This is hard to estimate, but yes, there is a financial impact when you blow up a depot or a refinery, especially if Russia, under sanctions, can't easily replace damaged equipment. Ukraine takes out 2 Russian radars, a Zoo Park counter battery, and 1 Book M3 system. This is a 5-minute video. It's a montage of just the Russians getting ripped up on the front lines. I'll link it down below if you want to see some drone video of Russian equipment blowing up. I'm going to mention this story. Makes me smile. Lion attacks collaborator at safari park in Russian-occupied Crimea. So this gentleman right here is a Russian collaborator who owns the Taigan Zoo, and when the Russians invaded Kherson and took control of Kherson, he looted all the zoos in Kherson and stole all the animals. He views himself basically as a Russian tiger king. He hangs out in the pen with the lions, and one of the lions killed him. There's a video if you want to see the body. A lion bit into his neck and almost ripped off his head. He's dead now. Moving on. Hungary and Slovakia block new EU sanctions against Russia. I hate these guys. I don't think these elections in Hungary can come fast enough, and there's no guarantee they're going to be free and fair. The European Union, you have moles on the inside in Hungary and Slovakia, and I mean, I can't say anything to you guys, but you know what the problem is. But it's absurd if one country can veto the safety and security of the entire European continent. This is a huge problem. I want to quick mention the Kiwis. New Zealand pledges $9.5 million aid package to Ukraine ahead of the NATO summit. Thank you so much, New Zealand. You guys aren't even in NATO. I appreciate you. Final video, I want to mention that President Zelensky visited the UK. This is Zelensky with the UK Prime Minister. And these are Ukrainian citizens undergoing training in the UK. This was a nice video of the Prime Minister and President Zelensky meeting with the trainees, and I want to share this video with you.
Good to see you.
Charlie, you work at my headquarters.
Good to see you. Thank you, dear Prime Minister, dear Kier. Thank you for invitation, and we are very thankful to UK, all your team and people of the United Kingdom for such big support of Ukraine from the very beginning of this war. I'm very thankful to all of you. I'm very thankful for this meeting, for the decision of support militarily and financially Ukraine. Thank you. Slava Ukraini. Thank you, Kir. Thank you.
Have you done some of the training before? Okay, so it's your first time with Interflex.
Я бачу, наші люди, вони з першого дня знають, що робити.
Вони в нас питають, як би, що вчинили. Включаєшся через тиждень, намагаюся зрозуміти, так.
А українську мову колеги знають?
В них також.
Я вчаю.
Але не в тому
You understand some words in Ukraine? A little bit. Бажаю вам всього успіху, всього найкращого. Повертайтесь додому з досвідом. Бережіть себе.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you to the UK for all the training and support. Continue supporting Ukraine. Russia will be defeated. That's all for this update video. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. Best way to support the channel. Comments and questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, keep defending the truth, keep defending democracy.